So first one we did was monkeyTrouble. So just I'm going to read it so I can explain it while I go along. So we have two monkeys, A and B, and the parameters A smile and B smile indicate if each is smiling. So you have these two variables here coming in to the function, and they are booleans. So they're either true or false. We are in trouble if they are both smiling or if neither of them is smiling. So basically you're in trouble if they're both true or if they're both false. Return true if we are in trouble. There are multiple ways of doing this. There's a super quick way of one-liner, but I'm not going to show that just so I can get like a little bit more topics shown, but then I will show the solution so you can kind of see how quick it could have been done. So first I'm going to check if A smile and B smile are true. So the way we do that, we don't write if A smile equals true. While that's not wrong, it's just not the way we're going to write it. So if A smile, so if it's true, and B smile, that means they're both smiling. So that would mean if they're both true, then do whatever we're going to put in here. Or if they're both false. So again, we're not going to write this. We're not going to write if it equals false. It should be A smile first anyway. Well, it doesn't have to be. So we're just going to write a not symbol, I'm sorry. So we're going to write if they're not true, which would obviously mean they're false, but they both have to be false. The quicker way to write that, since they're both either true or they're both either false, you could check if they're equal to each other. I didn't do it that way because I just wanted to get you practicing more of the ands, the ors, the nots, all in one problem. Remember, one line of code after an if statement does not need the curly brackets. And we're just returning a Boolean. And remember, this indicates what type of thing that we're going to return. So in this case, we're returning a Boolean, so we're going to return true. Else we'll return, sorry, no semicolon there, false. Okay, so there is an actual quicker way. They show you a few different ways. They show you that you could separate those as two separate if statements. You could write it as one line of code as a return statement. So you could take the line that we wrote in here and just literally write return, since this technically does evaluate to true or false. Or literally just check if they're equal to each other. And not only could you put it in this right here, you could actually just return that. So it's always kind of good to look at the solutions. I don't want you to do that before we do the problem, but it's always good to kind of see other ways of writing it. So then when you get new problems, you can start thinking about other ways to write them and simpler ways to write things. All right, the next one we did was Parrot Trouble. Similar because we have a Boolean and we're returning another Boolean. But this time we also have a parameter hour, so we have to check that. This could also be done as a one-liner, a return. Since we are returning a Boolean, we could literally write return and then whatever is going to go in our if statement, we could return that. But just to get more practice with writing if else, I'm going to make you do a little more typing. So we're checking if talking is true. So remember, I don't have to write if talking equals true. I just write if talking. And the hour is before 7 or after 20. That's when you're in trouble with the talking parrot. So I'm going to write this wrong, and I'm going to explain why I'm going to write it wrong. But I want you kind of can write it with me because there's only one thing that's going to be wrong that you can easily fix. So if the hour is before 7, it will be less than 7. Or the hour is after 20. One line of code after, we do not need brackets, so we're going to return true, else return false. And if you hit go, almost all of them work except these two. So I want you guys to understand why those two different did not work. So it comes with the order of operations right here. Well, not really, order of precedence, I should say. The and gets evaluated before the or. So what's happening is it's checking, are these true? So remember, if this to be true, both of those would have to be true. And if so, if it's not, doesn't matter. It'll still check this because this is an or statement. So it's literally saying, okay, I'm going to check these together and then I'll check this after. Because I only need one thing to be true for an or to be true. So what's happening with those two is ours is returning true when it should have been returning false because the parrot is not talking. So you're not in trouble. So what we need to do is just stick a set of parentheses around our or statement so that it checks the hour before it checks the talking. Well, it'll check talking, but then it'll check the hour together before it evaluates them both together. Okay, so now when you hit go, it should all work. All right, so just be careful with and ors. If you need the or to evaluate first, you have to make sure you have an extra set of parentheses around it. All right, another one we did was notString. So this one, we have not done any string problems yet. So there was a lot of concepts that we learned about strings in here. So one concept is you cannot use equal signs when you're checking if strings are equal. You have to use a method, dot equals, that's already built in. And it just has to do with the way they're stored in memory, which you'll learn later if you go into CSA. So don't need to worry about why right now. Just need to know that dot equals is the way we're going to check if two strings are equal. And the reason we're going to have to use that is we want to check if the beginning of our string has the letters NOT. All right, so one thing about strings is every letter or character, I should say, because it could be an exclamation mark, it could be actually a space, has an index. All right, so the other thing about indexing, though, is it starts at 0, not 1. So my letter N here is at index 0. Okay? My letter O is at index 1. T is at index 2. And then the space is actually index 3. And then we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, it goes up to index 8, but if I were to count every character in this string, it actually has a length of 9. That becomes important in cases where you don't know how long the string is. You can actually use a length and -1 to get the last letter. So that might be helpful in some of our other coding bats. But right now I just want to check, are the letters 0, 1, and 2 equal to the word not? So the way we do that is we're going to take our string and write dot substring. So substring is a function built in to the Java language that will take a piece of a string. And there's two different ways to write substring. In this case, we're going to take the beginning index and the ending index. The beginning index is 0. Now, I want 0, 1, and 2, but the second number that comes in here is not inclusive. So I have to write 0 to 3. All right, even though I only want 0, 1, and 2, I have to write 3. This is not going to include the third one, or the one at index 3. And then I want to check, is it equal? So you write dot equals to the word not. Oh, sorry, wrong way. There is something else I have to check here, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to show you the error first before I put it in there. If it is, I just want to return. It says return the string unchanged if the word not is in the beginning. So I'm just going to return the string. Else, I have to add the word not into the string. So the way you do that is you write not, you need a space, otherwise the word will get stuck together with a not because it's not going to have a space. And then we have to concatenate, so we have to put a plus sign, the variable string. And then hit go. And I wanted you to see these two errors. So these two errors, it says string index out of bounds exception. So what is happening is it's taking this string X, which has only one letter, and it's trying to take a substring of 3 letters. And that's causing an error. So what we need to do is before we do the substring, we need to check the length. So you're going to write str.length with open close parentheses because it is a function. It just doesn't take anything in the parentheses. And I want to make sure that it's either greater than, you can write greater than 2 or you can write greater than or equal to 3. And then you'll write the and symbol. So what happens is it'll short circuit if this first thing is false. And by that I mean if this first thing is false, it will not even check the second one. Because remember, if there's one thing in an and statement that's false, the whole thing evaluates to false. So if the string's not bigger than 3 or equal to 3, it'll come right down to the else. And once you fix that, it should be good. All right, hopefully that made sense. If not, you can ask me, we can meet up, or you can ask me in class. And we did one more, I believe it was missingChar. All right, so given a non-empty string, so that just means a string that actually has something in it. It could be a letter, it could be a number, it could be a character. And an int n, so just a number, a whole number. Return, or a whole number, negative. Return a new string where the char at index n has been removed. The value of n will be a valid index of a char in the original string. So that means it won't be negatives. It'll start at 0 and go up to, remember, this is the last letter. They're taking the length minus 1. That just means it's the last letter, inclusive. So I can use that as my last letter. So basically they're just saying, I'm not going to give you an index that's out of the string. It'll actually be a valid number. I don't have to check the number first. So since I don't actually need any if statements here, I'm just going to return the string that they want. And what I'm going to do is take 2 substrings and put them together. So I'm going to take this str is the name of the string they're giving me, the variable name. I'm starting at 0 and I'm going to n. Remember, this one's not inclusive, so it's not going to add in the letter that I want out. It'll go right before there. So if it wants out 0, a substring from 0 but not including 0 would be nothing. So I don't have to worry about if they give me 0. This just won't return anything. And then I want to add the rest of the word. But I don't want to include n. So I can't just write n here. I need the letter after n. And the way we're going to do that is just write n plus 1. Now, I could write comma and then put something after it, and the something after it would actually be the string, the str.length, because every word might not be kitten. Could be anything. So it might be 3 letters, it might be 2 letters. But if I want to go from something to the end of the word, you only have to put in 1 number. This would evaluate to 1 number. If once n is, declared and you put a number in here, it would turn into 1 number. So if you just put in 1 number, it'll go from that index to the very end of the word, which is exactly what we want. So if you hit go, there you go. Now, if you had put just n here, it'll give you the same exact word that we had. So you have to do n plus 1. And I will show you that if you do comma str.length, it'll still give you the right thing, but it's just not necessary to do that. Just extra work to do that. All right, so that is all we did in class. Have any questions, let me know.